Good morning. Better. My name is Katie Goslin, and it's a joy to welcome you here. I invite us to take a deep breath and center ourselves with these words that call us to gather. With our searching souls and our broken hearts, let us seek refuge and renewal in this time and place. Let the noises of the world fall silent in this hour, and let the stillness find us and carve out space for us to hear more clearly the call of grace and love. Let us listen deeply to the teachers that find us here, the questions of a child, the tears and laughter of our companions, the gifts of ministry and music, and yes, the teacher that is our own souls. In stillness, in spaciousness, in love, let us gather. A flaming chalice has been a symbol of Unitarian Universalists for many decades, and we join our siblings in faith each Sunday by lighting our chalice here in the sanctuary. For those joining us online, I invite you to light a candle or chalice in your own space as we share these words by the UU Soul Matters team. We light this chalice to remember the light within, to know that the hunger we feel inside is an echo of inner wisdom that wants something more for us, for others, for this weary yet wonderful world. And now, please rise in body or spirit for our opening song, number 353, Find a Stillness.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Church of Urbana-Champaign. We are a church of many different ages, bodies, genders, histories, identities, and beliefs, but we are united in our shared commitment to our mission to build community, seek inspiration, promote justice, and find peace. I am Reverend Beth Monholland. My pronouns are she, hers, and I have the deep joy of serving as the lead minister to this congregation alongside our associate minister, Reverend Sally Fritchie. Whether you are joining us here in the sanctuary in body, joining us from afar online, I welcome you into this space that we make sacred together. As we gather this morning, I want to bid a special welcome to any guests among us. Guests are invited to complete a visitor's card and so that we can stay connected to you. And whether you're joining us here via our live stream, in Fellowship Hall, or in this room, I trust that today's service will bring you what your heart needs. If you are feeling a bit too crowded with community here in the sanctuary, you're welcome for any reason at any point to join the live stream of the service in Fellowship Hall, which is just across the entryway. That space is also great if you simply need to stretch your legs or honestly get the wiggles out. Everyone is also invited to join us in Fellowship Hall immediately after the service for our time of kinship and coffee. It's not a UU fellowship hour without coffee, snacks, and conversation. We are a congregation of all ages, which means we embrace all of the little noises and potential distractions that little people bring into a service. And if the little ones in body or the young in spirit need something to keep their hands busy, some coloring packs and activity packs are available in the entryway. You're welcome to get those. Children and our RE volunteers will have their time of faith development following the time for all ages, which is noted in your order of service. But kids are always welcome to stay here for the entirety of the service if that's what they and their caregivers prefer. And just a note, we do have a nursery available for any little ones 6 and under. One final note, we are living in endemic times, and it is autumn, and there are lots of germs of all kinds floating around. So we try to practice care in this community by honoring boundaries. If folks need to wear masks, they are of course welcome to. And we have color-coded lanyards that provide a visual cue of how much distance a person might need. If someone's wearing a yellow or red lanyard, that means they might just want you to wave at them from afar. And as always, we should practice enthusiastic consent before we try to give anybody a hug. In these ways, we build community, we practice our interdependence, and we center love in all of our actions. I want to welcome you once more into this service. I invite you to take a deep centering breath with me. And here we are. And now I want to invite Brandon Goslin and are Sawyer and Miles going to help? Are you all going to help with the story? Fabulous. They are going to read us a story for our time for all ages. It's called The Quiet Book. So the Goslin family is gathering here. If there's other little ones, again, young or young at heart, who want to come a little closer to hear the story and see the book, the images will be on the screen, but other folks are welcome to gather here in the front if that is more comfortable for you.
Is it on? There we go. Yep. Feel free to come down. They do. Yeah. So our book today is called The Quiet Book. Pretty fitting for church. There are many kinds of quiet. First one, awake quiet. Jelly side down quiet. Don't scare the robin quiet. Others telling secrets quiet. Coloring in the lines quiet. Thinking of a good reason you were drawing in the on the wall quiet. Hide and seek quiet. Last one to get picked up from school quiet. Swimming underwater quiet. Pretending you're invisible quiet. Lollipop quiet. First look at your new hairstyle quiet. Sleeping sister quiet. Right before you yell surprise quiet. Making a wish quiet. Top of the roller coaster quiet. Best friends don't need to talk quiet. Surprise visit from Aunt Tilly quiet. Do iguanas bite quiet? Before the concert starts quiet. Trying not to hiccup quiet. First snowfall, quiet. Car ride at night, quiet. Too many bubbles, quiet. Story time, quiet. Kind of like right now. Tucking in Teddy, quiet. Bedtime kiss, quiet. What flashlight, quiet. Sound asleep, quiet.
Thank you, Brandon. Thank you, Katie, for picking that story. And now is the time for all of us, not necessarily quietly. You can make joyful sounds, everybody, as you, young people and our RE volunteers, go to their classrooms for their time for faith development. Juan's going to play us a little music to get you on your way. Everyone is being very quiet today. We took the story to heart. Our service themes for the month of October is deep listening, the space we hold, how we hold space for each other in noisy, loud, joyous, raucous times, and in quiet stillness. How we do that is part of our work of discernment in spiritual communities. Part of how we hold space for each other in this community is by sharing joys and sorrows with each other each week. We know that when we gather, we are bringing the fullness and the wholeness of all that we are. We do not ask you to leave parts of yourself outside the church doors, but to bring all of you into this space together. And in community, we carve out space to lift up our joys so that they will be multiplied, to lay down our sorrows and concerns for just a moment so that the weight of them can be lessened. If you have a joy or a concern, a joy or sorrow you'd like read aloud, you can put that on a joy and sorrow card that's in the pew rack. The ushers will also have them. We'll collect those during the offering and read them aloud later in the service. You can also submit a joy and sorrow electronically via email, especially if you're joining us online at joysandsorrows@uuc. Lord, I forgot everybody. uucuc.org. In this moment together, though, we will enter into an embodied ritual. You'll be invited to come forward while we sing or just hear our blessing song, May the Longtime Sun. At the altar table, there is a bowl of water, there are petals, and there are stones. You are invited to let a stone sink into the bottom, the way your joys and sorrows can be held. Lay down a petal, lay down a stone, lay down both if that's what you're called to do today. In the stillness and the quiet, in the music, we hold each other with tenderness and love.
I first got to know the Independent Media Center in its current location when I was part of
We live our mission at this congregation in many ways. Building community means holding space for our joys and sorrows, and also connecting day to day and week to week through the opportunities both within and beyond our congregation. We invite you to subscribe to and read our weekly e-news to stay up to date on all the activities offered through our REE program and our social action councils. This morning, I want to highlight a few things. Join us at 11:45 today here in the sanctuary for the next session of our Inquirers series. Today's topic is worship and the liturgical year. Grab a coffee and snack in Fellowship Hall and come back here to join Reverend Beth to learn more about how we plan worship here at our congregation. The Inquirers series has a different topic each week through November 24th, so be sure to check out the ones that most interest you. Next Sunday is our annual Remembrance Service, and we invite you to bring in photos and mementos of your loved ones who have died to be part of our altar display. Saturday, October 26th will be a fun-filled day here at church. From 11:30 to 1, our Faith Development Program is hosting a Halloween costume and craft party in the children's wing. And at 7 p.m., our Fall Coffee House will be in Fellowship Hall. There will be music, poetry, laughter, and fun for everyone. I know my daughter Sawyer is going to be teaching us how to do the Hot to Go dance by Chappell Roan. And that was her idea. I did not plant it. And people say there's no faith in public school. Come on. Read more details about these and other events in our NUUs and check out the full calendar of events in Realm. Each Sunday, in recognition of our very real interdependence and reliance on each other, we pass the plate and share our offering with an organization doing the work of justice in the world. Our shared offering partner for October is the Urbana-Champaign Independent Media Center, whose mission is to foster the creation and distribution of media and art. We have a video from them to share more details of the good work that they do.
I first got to know the Independent Media Center in its current location when I was part of a book club called Witnessing Whiteness. We were studying anti-racism and allyship, and we met here at the IMC. IMC members can meet in our space for up to 3 hours a week for free, and we really work to be a place that's safer, that's inspiring, and that's open and affordable to the community. Larson, and I'm the Executive Director at the Independent Media Center in downtown Urbana. I'm so glad to greet you today on this Sunday in October, and I'm so grateful for your support of the Independent Media Center and all the arts and activism that happens here. I want to tell you a little bit about it and invite you to a couple events and volunteer opportunities we have coming up.
Hey, what's up, y'all? It's your boy, DJ BJ Clark, from 104.5 WRFU and the Independent Media Center audio coordinator. And we have something that we're bringing back to the community called our Unmute Sound Engineering Training Course for beginners. And if you're interested in learning how to use this soundboard and knowing the ins and outs of proper mic etiquettes, as well as how to set up a sound system, PA system, please join us. February 1st, on Saturday, we're having a 5-week class.
We want to train community organizers and artists to level up their skills, to network, and to get inspired by programs that we bring through. You'll hear a little bit about those from Ty.
Hey, how y'all doing? I am Ty. I am the new programming coordinator here at the IMC. And one of those ways I have been able to contribute that during my short time here is starting community nights, which is free to our community, and we have a variety of things that happen. We have community painting. We have someone here. If you have questions about tech or tech needs, you can come and chat with them. We've had game nights. We've had skate nights. We've had DJs.
Finally, we are an incubator of community organizations. We provide a sustainable infrastructure through our nonprofit to proliferate many organizations. With the IMC's nonprofit status in place, our working groups and fiscal sponsors can focus on the programmatic work. So you might have heard of Books to Prisoners, WRFU 104.5, the Makerspace, the Public Eye newspaper, and the Zine Library.
You can give by text or through the online portal on our website. Or if you're here in the sanctuary, the basket will be passed and checks can be made out to UUCUC. And in the memo, put shared offering. Half of what you give will go towards sustaining the work of this church, and the other half will go directly to our shared offering partner. We invite you to give whatever is generous for you. This is also the time to submit a written joy or sorrow.
As the choir makes their way forward to perform our offertory piece for you, it's called Come and Find the Quiet Center. And we've talked a lot about the different ways that we can find quiet centers, but it starts with working together. And so that's what we're focusing on in this piece.
Thank you, Amar. Thank you, choir. That was beautiful. And thank you to all of you for your generosity, for sharing for the operations of this church, for our shared partner, and for the generous ways in which you share of yourselves each and every day. We'll make space now to share some joys and sorrows aloud. We have several that were submitted online. Yep, thank you, Ian. The ushers will bring any cards up to me. We have a few that were also from last week during our animal blessing. For those who were here, we did not do our spoken joys and sorrows, so some of these are a couple of weeks' worth of what our community is holding. Alice Engelbretson shared a deep sorrow. Her little dog, Willa, had a stroke and ended up dying. She was a constant and wonderful companion for 12 years, and Alice is grieving her loss and asking us to hold her in our care. From the Pitzel family, Michelle's grandpa passed away, and while they are sad to lose him, they are joyful for his 90 years of life and ask for safe travels back to Michigan, where they will be attending the family funeral. A joy from Pat McClard for singing with the choir yesterday and with the People's Chorus. Thank you, Imar. Where did Imar go? Pat writes, for making us all sound so good. And a joy last week from Charles Walworth for the lovely weekend spent at Allerton Park for his and Caitlin's 4th wedding anniversary. Happy anniversary. A joy from Angie Urban, echoing Pat. 3 beautiful local choirs performed yesterday, including our own UUCUC choir led by MR. With gratitude and joy, thank you to all of our UU singers and others in community for sharing their voices. And here's an echo of that. People are joy-filled. From Jody Hanger, deep joy for singing in the community choral concert yesterday. Jody shares her heart was full seeing her family and so many other families' faces in the audience. Our art, our voices matter, especially in these days when there's so much anxiety and grief swirling about us. So thank you, truly thank you for all of you who show up for each other and who share your gifts in all the ways that you do. For all that we are holding in our hearts, for all we have spoken aloud, for all that we are, I say thank you. And I ask you to take a deep breath with me and enter into just a minute of silence as we hold space for everyone here and those to whom we are connected beyond these walls. In the quiet, in the stillness, may you find a connection not only to your own deep soul, but to the souls of those around you. Now I want to invite Katie up to share a reading, an excerpt from Parker Palmer's A Hidden Wholeness, The Journey Toward an Undivided Life.
Wholeness does not mean perfection. It means embracing brokenness as an integral part of life. But the soul is shy. Just like a wild animal, it seeks the safety of the underbrush. If we want to see a wild animal, we know that the last thing we should do is go crashing through the woods, yelling for it to come out. But if we will walk quietly into the woods, sit patiently at the base of a tree, breathe with the earth, and fade into our surroundings, the wild creature we seek might put in an appearance. That is also true of the inner teacher. To see and hear the soul's voice, we must create a quiet, inviting, and trustworthy space for the shy soul to speak its truth. But one of the most important ways to listen to the inner teacher is by embracing solitude. Solitude does not necessarily mean being alone. It means experiencing moments of deep self-awareness that allow the noise of the world to fall away so we can hear the voice within. Yet, solitude is not enough. We require relationships, circles of trust where we can be ourselves without fear of judgment or correction. True community makes space for honest questions and quiet listening. The challenge is to listen for those stirrings of truth, not only within ourselves, but also in the lives and stories of others. Discernment, then, is not about getting the right answer, but about living the questions. It's about paying attention to the promptings of the soul that call us to live a more authentic life, balancing the times when we must speak up with the times when we must remain silent. As we learn to listen deeply, both to ourselves and to one another, we create the conditions for truth to emerge in its own time.
There's a pop song by a singer-songwriter who goes by the name Skylar Grey. And her song has been sampled actually by a whole lot of artists, including Rihanna and Eminem. And the first time I heard her sing it, it struck me, a deep, deep chord in me. I'm not going to sing the whole thing for you, but the part that always speaks to me says this: "It's so loud inside my head, I can't take back the words I never said." I don't know about you, but I do have deep moments of regret for some words I never said. When I was younger, and I don't mean when I was a kid, I mean all the way into my 30s, I held back a lot of myself. I would have moments of wanting to reach out to somebody. And I was trying to think of a specific story for you that I could nail down one specific moment, but there's an entire collection of them that feels like dominated how I moved through the world in my teens and 20s and 30s. I would have a dream about someone. They would be on my mind. I would dream about them for 2 or 3 days, and I would wake up remembering it. It wouldn't even be a bad dream, just a dream of a person. And I would feel a tug in my heart, a little voice saying, you should call them. You should reach out and just tell them you were thinking of them. And I always felt so foolish, because what would I say? I dreamed about you, so I held back. I was blessed in my life to be surrounded by creative, generative, smart, talented people. And I would be so in awe sometimes of the actors and musicians and artists in my life, of the educators and teachers who held space and facilitated meetings with such skill that I could only look up to them. And I would want to say something to them. You inspired me today. I loved how you did that. Your words mattered to me, and I would hold back no matter how much that little voice inside me was saying, do something. And I can't really fully articulate to you or even to myself what held me back, except perhaps it was fear of being too vulnerable, fear that my authentic, whole, enthusiastic self would be rejected, That somehow maybe people would be embarrassed by me giving them a compliment, that people would think less of me, think that I was ridiculous, that I was speaking with too many exclamation points, as another friend of mine says. I thought I would be seen as silly or emotional, not taken seriously. It's none of that and all of that that held me back for so many years that I ignored that little voice saying, show up more fully, offer people words they might need. I ignored my longings for deeper connection. I swallowed so many words, let them clog up in my throat, and I can never get them back. I lost touch with people, let relationships drift apart. Stayed on the shallow end of the pool with so many people in my life. And some of them are gone now, died, past all possibility of connection. My fears and insecurities, my ignoring of the voice calling me to authentic wholeness held me back. When we talk about deep listening, as we are this month, when we talk about how we hold space for each other, we have to build up practices that let us show up as our full, whole, authentic, wounded, broken, messy human selves. We can build up muscles together for that. We can build practices, our spiritual practices, our community practices, because we need both. The balance and the dance of that is what Quaker educator Parker Palmer was talking about in his beautiful, beautiful passage that Katie picked out. Thank you for selecting that. Parker reflects on how challenging it can be for any of us, but certainly alone, to make space to hear our inner voice, to hear that inner teacher that actually, when we are paying attention, is guiding us out of our fragmentation and towards a deeper wholeness. Parker explores in so much of his work, but particularly in A Hidden Wholeness, how we must make space for ourselves, that kind of solitude he mentioned, which can come to us in many ways. What are the practices that matter to you? Tegan, do you mind if I say, is this knitting or crocheting? Because I never know. Crocheting. I love that you are doing that here, that is a practice for you to be in your body while also being in community. What are your practices for that help you be who you are, where you are? We hide ourselves behind masks of perfection and cynicism, afraid to be vulnerable, afraid to hear the cries of longing from our own spirits, which means we cannot hear the cries of longing from those around us. So we need to practice speaking truths in ways that invite more wholeness for ourselves and others. Practice the messages that make us feel vulnerable and silly and are they gonna see me and hear me? You can practice saying, I love you. I care about you. This matters to me. And also practice saying, I'm hurt. I'm angry. I'm disappointed. I'm afraid. When we can name our realities in ways that don't wreak harm on ourselves and everyone around us, then we are making space for that inner teacher. And it may sound as if I'm telling you to tone police yourself, to say you're angry in a way that just makes the other person comfortable, and that's not actually what I'm meaning at all. But I'm saying if the only time any of us ever say we're angry is when we're throwing things at the wall and hitting somebody, they're gonna get the message that we're angry, but there is no opportunity for actual connection, healing, and wholeness. If the only time we say we're disappointed is by cutting remarks and making people feel ashamed, they will get the message, but there is no opportunity for connection and moving forward together. If the only time we say, I love you, is when someone does something for us, they're going to get the message, but it might not be the one we hoped they would receive. Being honest with ourselves about our emotional realities means attending to our souls in a way that moves us away from our woundedness. Our wounds are important, dear ones. There's not a single person in this room, online, anywhere on this planet that isn't carrying something hurtful, deeply hurtful. And the truth is, most of us are constantly acting out and interacting with each other from that wounded place. Not from a place of wholeness. Not from the place where the inner teacher is calling us to slow down, to listen and make space. Sometimes the words we don't say because they're going to hurt somebody else. Sometimes the words we say because we recognize that they're not necessary. Parker Palmer said that in the reading Katie shared. Some of our discernment is knowing when to speak and when to be silent, to hold still. If we practice showing up in wholeness, if we practice naming our truths in an authentic way that deepens relationship, then in community we can do the discernment. Sometimes in community is where we figure out, oh, I don't need to say this to these 10 people, I can say it to this one, and it'll be okay. But if we don't take the time to build relationships, we can't get to that place. And when we don't take that time, when we don't get to a place of wholeness, when we act out of our woundedness, you know what happens. We just keep hurting ourselves and others over and over again. Parker Palmer offers this bit of wisdom about this kind of pattern. If I am to let my life speak things I want to hear, I must also let it speak things I do not want to hear and would never tell anyone else. My life is not only about my strengths and virtues, it is also about my liabilities and my limits, my trespasses and my shadows. An inevitable, though often ignored dimension of the quest for wholeness is that we must embrace what we dislike or find shameful about ourselves, as well as what we are confident and proud of. We must embrace all of ourselves. That's what wholeness means. And that is way, way easier said than done. When I was in 6th grade, after lunch one day, me and my entire class were standing outside getting ready to go back to our classrooms when one of my best friends since 1st grade, who I loved and adored, for some reason, decided to very loudly and very meanly say a really awful thing to another girl in our class. It was mean and unnecessary and honestly out of character for my friend. And it was deeply embarrassing for all of us who witnessed it, but especially for the girl who was the target. And I knew it was wrong, but I said nothing as people nervously laughed. I said nothing as that poor girl turned 10 shades of red and looked away in shame. I said nothing then, and I said nothing later, even though there was a tug at my heart telling me, tell your friend that was wrong. There was a tug at my 11-year-old heart saying, apologize to that girl. I said nothing, I did nothing. And I was 11 years old, and here I am, 39 years later, still carrying the shame and embarrassment and regret of those words that I did not say. And part of my shame is because that I knew I needed to speak. Sometimes the words we don't say, especially in the face of injustice, haunt us most deeply. The words we don't say, the words that proclaim we are taking a side, that proclaim our values and our stances, plant us firmly here with this group of people who need us most, those are the words we don't say. And while we must remember that it is sometimes unsafe for us to speak, because it is always unsafe for somebody to speak, when we are called to speak, especially in situations where we actually hold some power, as I actually did as an 11-year-old girl in that classroom, as I have for many moments in my life, when we hold some power and we are called to speak in the face of injustice, we must unclog the words in our throat, no matter how much fear or anxiety they produce in us. The words we don't say are vital for people's health and thriving. Toni Morrison once said to a group of graduates, and I'm paraphrasing here, she said, though, when you go out there and you find those jobs for which you have worked so hard, when you go out there into the world and you get a little bit of power, you remember your real job is to empower somebody else. Part of our work together in spiritual community, in this you community and this congregation, is engaging in the kinds of practices that Parker Palmer teaches, the kinds of practices we explored for these last 2 months as we talked about spiritual practices and conflict transformation, having accountability partners, as I mentioned in a service a couple of weeks ago. We need all of those things so that we learn to speak when the words are needed, so that we learn to move into the wholeness that we and the world need to empower each other for thriving. I had a responsibility to speak up at 11 and I passed it by. And that moment has been a teacher for me, has been a teacher to say, you must speak sometimes. And I am still learning the lesson over and over and over again. I don't want to stand up here and make you think that, oh, I'm the minister and I somehow have it all right. I don't. But I have community that helps me get closer to that rightness. Because it is in community that I've gained more courage, more resilience in both my solo and collective practices, that I've moved toward more wholeness, that calls me into deeper action, that actually calls me daily to say, where is our responsibility to reject the machines of war that we fund, particularly in this moment right now around the world, in the Middle East? Where is our responsibility to say war cannot and should not be the answer? Where is our responsibility to speak out against fascism and genocide? Where is our responsibility to speak out when the police in this country, despite everything we know from 100 years of policing reports, despite everything we've learned in the past 4 years, where is our responsibility to speak out when the police continue to kill poor people and Black people and people of color at rates that are immoral and should be criminal? Where is our responsibility to speak in our own communities about the things we know we value, about voting rights and reproductive rights and queer rights? Where is our responsibility to speak against book bannings and the defunding of public education? We think these things are political, but they are not. They are our life's blood. Where is our responsibility to learn to challenge without dehumanizing? And God, that's the hard part, to challenge those systems without dehumanizing the people in them. Where is our challenge to not dehumanize the people who are wielding their power like weapons against us? Where and when and with whom are we called to speak words that matter? Here, now, with each other. Dear ones, what will happen in these coming days and weeks and months across the world and here in our country as this national election looms. It's scary to contemplate. And I don't know about you, but whenever someone tells me how close the election is, I literally get a fight and flight response in my body. There are so many of us holding anxiety and fear about what is to come, which is why we must continue to come together, to carve out the space to hold each other in all of our, as I said, complicated, messy, broken humanness, to create the practices and the space to have a little bit of solitude that enables us to reach across to each other and carve out space to recognize when we have power and when we can come together to empower each other. My hope for us is that we can listen with gentleness the calls of Spirit, receive with clarity the messages that come from our own souls, hear the voices of our inner teacher reminding us that the tender, vulnerable, broken places within us are worthy and are part of our wholeness. My hope is that we can nurture and empower each other to speak and live our values with boldness and courage. I pray we can send and receive messages in whatever forms they may take that tell us, I see you and you are enough. You are holy. You are whole. You are loved. May these be the words we always say. May it be so, and amen. I'll extinguish our flame this morning with our chalice extinguishing words. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again.
The sad eyes, don't be discouraged, oh, I realize it's hard to take courage in a world full of people. You can lose sight of it all, and the darkness inside you makes you feel so small.
You can be amazing, you can turn a phrase into a weapon or a drug. You can be the outcast or be the backlash of somebody's lack of love. But I wonder what would happen.
But I see your true colors shining through. I see your true colors, and that's why I love you. So don't be afraid to let them show. I wanna see you, just wanna see you. I wanna see you, I wanna see you be brave. Show me your smile then. Don't be unhappy, can't remember when I last saw you laughing. If this world makes you crazy and you've taken all you can bear, just call me up and you know I'll be there. Call me up and you know I'll be there. Call me up, come on. How big your brave is, say what you wanna true colors are beautiful, and I see your true colors shining through. I see